Yo, come along, follow the map. My shoulder who will hold you like a stiff dick, will work you like a flick trick. I'm crazy back, the shit is getting ill, shaking deck out the burbs, nigga, it's the big nicks. Coming fat from the vats of black wax. In fact, I cramp stacks of acts upon the shelves. So fans can help themselves. I prove my record sales. Move along, cause yo, there ain't no pausing. I'm causing catastrophe. I hate to be the one coming after the black. I heat them up even in winter. I spin the beginners. I'm eating pussies for dinner, but just remember, I ain't no downtown clown. I run the mellow ass sounds, the real shit, boy.
Good. And what's the progress in terms of distributing them or getting ready to distribute them to those countries in dire need?
So there's some very good news. You're quite right. This was set up to ensure, and it's never happened before. It's never
happened before.
It would be very important to ensure.
It wasn't.
Many large tour food come from China to visit Thailand, and this made my business very good. My family background is Chinese and I can speak Mandarin. In the past, business very good and I would normally have 40 customers every week. Many people I know in Phuket have lost their job. I moved to Bangkok because I could not work as tour guide anymore.
Thailand's government has struggled to negate the damage done to the country's tourism and hospitality sector, though it has made some progress. The Rao Pai Tiogan subsidy program, Thai for We Go Travel Together, offers a 40% discount on rooms costing up to 3,000 baht, or roughly $100. Meant to boost domestic travel, it requires participants to travel to locations outside their hometowns in order to receive the benefit. Stephen Steele, an expat from the United States who has lived and worked in Bangkok for 6 years, often travels to nearby provinces.
The travel subsidy program seems to be benefiting the larger luxury and international chain type hotels rather than the smaller local guest houses and hostels that are scattered around the country. So, for example, I was recently in Phetchaburi, a small city about 2 hours outside Bangkok, and I spoke with the owners of the guest house that I've stayed at several times over the past couple of years. And this hotel is normally 80 to 90% occupied throughout the year. It's a very popular place to go to. And the owner told me that since the lockdown ended, they have not gone a week where they've had more than 2 customers.
Thailand is anticipating that 2021 will see a gradual resumption of international travel. It will be a test for both citizens and local authorities as they work to effectively contain the virus and salvage any short-term hopes of reviving the tourism industry. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Adriel Talamantis reporting from Bangkok.
Coming up, the second impeachment of U.S. President Donald Trump.
History is made up of stories. Put down that lengthy book spanning thousands of years and instead follow the Makers and Shakers of Chinese History podcast, which presents the biographies of 20 historic figures who shaped the course of ancient China. Meet the most renowned ancient Chinese rulers, ministers, thinkers, scientists, poets, and rebels, and find out how they continue to influence the Chinese to this day. Subscribe to Makers and Shakers of Chinese History for free on your favorite podcast app.
At 22 past the hour, President Donald Trump has been impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives over the violent siege of the Capitol. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, read the results.
On this vote, you are trying to get funding, where you're trying to secure as many vaccines as possible. What is the biggest challenge you're encountering at this moment?
Well, certainly one of the big challenges is funding, but
To be impeached twice. 10 Republicans supported the Democrats in voting to remove the president from office. The vote took place under exceptionally tight security in the Capitol, beefed up by armed National Guard troops with secure perimeters and metal detectors. The United States has blacklisted 2 foundations over alleged links to Iran's leadership. The Treasury Department says it sanctioned the execution of Imam Khomeini's order and Astan Quds-Razavi, along with their leaders and subsidiaries. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin says these institutions enable Iran's elite to sustain a corrupt system of ownership over large parts of Iran's economy. A statement says all property and interests of the property of designated individuals and entities in the United States have been blocked. U.S. persons are generally prohibited from transactions with them. Persons and foreign financial institutions that engage in certain transactions with them may be exposed to sanctions. The administration of outgoing President Donald Trump has doubled down maximum pressure campaign against Iran in its waning days. Earlier this week, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo accused Iran of ties to terrorist group Al-Qaeda, saying that Iran had become a new home base for Al-Qaeda. Iran refuted the allegation. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Jacob J. Lew has been named chair of the board of directors of the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. The nonprofit organization has been at the forefront of promoting exchanges between the two sides since the 1970s. Lew served as the Treasury Secretary from 2013 to 17. He'll be the 10th chair of the New York-based committee. The Prime Minister of Ireland has issued a formal apology on behalf of the state for decades of abuse at church-run homes for unmarried mothers. Prime Minister Michael Martin spoke in Parliament after a long-awaited report recounted decades of harm done at the homes where thousands of infants died. Martin promised that the government will act on all of the recommendations of the report. The church-run homes in Ireland housed orphans, unmarried pregnant women, and their babies for most of the 20th century. The final report of an inquiry into the mother and baby homes said that 9,000 children died in different homes during this period. Major causes of death included respiratory infections and stomach flu. It's 25 past the hour. The Civil Aviation Administration of China is aiming to contribute to the orderly resumption of international flights this year. Xiaoyi has more.
In a series of new adjustments to China's aviation industry, authorities will upgrade civil aviation cooperation with the United States and Europe, as well as optimizing schedule management for international flights. More aviation cooperation will be carried out with countries along the Belt and Road and in regard with the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Han Guangzhou with China's Civil Aviation Administration says the possibility to roll out such policies is the result of efficient epidemic prevention and control measures taken by the country.
Through our active preventative measures, imported COVID-19 cases have significantly decreased. In November, flights with confirmed cases that resulted in a halt of operation were reduced to 20. We will continue to carry out stringent control measures with other relative departments to ensure that the pandemic will not be transmitted through air transportation.
China's civil aviation sector handled 420 million passenger trips in 2020, which accounted for over 63% of that in the year before. Additionally, the volume of China's civil aviation transportation has retained its position as the world's second highest for the 15th consecutive year. To consolidate the progress, Director Feng Zhenglin of the administration says China will work more closely with international partners to increase the efficiency of cargo transportation.
Through negotiation with other countries, we will jointly roll out dynamic transitional policies for traffic arrangement to reduce risks brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the dynamic international policies and existing containment measures for imported cases, we will resume international flights in an orderly manner. We will also flexibly loosen policies on international cargo flights, which will effectively improve the capacities of cargo transportation.
As of last year, China had signed bilateral air transportation agreements with 128 countries, including 100 involved in the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as maintaining regular passenger and freight traffic with 64 countries. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Xiaoyi.
It's 28 past the hour now. Before the break, a check of the forecast. Beijing's cloudy today with a high of 4 degrees Celsius. It'll be down to -5 this evening. Chongqing will be sunny and 13, a low of +2. Laos is sunny and 15, then it's -5. Hong Kong's cloudy and 20, a low of 13. In North America, Washington, D.C. will be overcast Thursday and 9 degrees Celsius. New York City, overcast and 8. In Africa, Nairobi is getting a slight rain and 27. And finally to Oceania, Port Vila is getting a slight rain and 30 degrees Celsius. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, a WHO team is visiting China starting today as part of the international search for the origins of COVID-19. Donald Trump is the first U.S. president to be impeached twice, and China's aiming to resume regular international flights in and out of the country later on this year. Shane Begum with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Join the most popular Chinese language learning page on Facebook by searching for CRI Learn Chinese. It's a quick yet fun way to achieve your language goals. Start your free lessons now with unlimited videos, photos, and text tutorials on expressions and Chinese culture. CRI Learn Chinese Facebook page. The world opens with 您好.
The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour brings you an hour of comprehensive news and information from both China and the rest of the world. A mix of news, sports, and entertainment. In-depth analysis of the day's big stories, as well as the most comprehensive business of the day. The Beijing Hour. Your very own window to China and the rest of the world. Want to know what's trending in China? China Plus News Facebook page helps you to discover the real China, from the latest news to quirky Chinese inventions, videos, photos, live streaming, and more. Join in the conversation today by searching for China Plus News on Facebook and discover its news, its people, its traditions, and culture. China Plus News Facebook page. Open your eyes to the real China.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host,
Shane Begum with you on this Thursday morning. Still to come in business, China's busy bond market in 2020. In sports, a blockbuster trade in the NBA. In culture and entertainment, Chinese box office is gaining strength. There are a number of ways to contact us. You can talk to us on Twitter at China Plus News or log on to Facebook, China Plus News, for more news, videos, and analysis. Now, today's headlines. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's expressed support for Indonesia to become a regional hub for vaccine production. His visit came as Indonesia began its mass COVID-19 inoculation program. The two sides also discuss ways to boost trade and tourism, as well as peace and stability in the South China Sea. Officials say China's COVID-19 prevention and control situation is complex and challenging. The country has seen multiple areas report both sporadic cases and clusters of infections over the past few days. Health officials say the latest virus resurgence is characterized by its long duration and its spread to a wide range of regions. Chinese authorities are calling for stricter controls over passenger traffic in and out of areas designated as medium and high risk for COVID-19. Local governments are advised to suspend interprovincial and intercity road passenger transportation, as well as intercity public transportation in and out of such areas. The Transport Ministry also asked cities with medium and high risk areas to suspend cross-city taxi services and intracity carpooling. China suffering the biggest virus outbreak in months, with Hubei province the worst hit. Brazilian health authorities say that antibodies specific to the COVID-19 virus have been detected in serum samples from December of 2019. The health department says more than 7,000 samples were collected between December of 19 and June of last year from patients suspected of being infected with dengue and other diseases. With the samples analyzed, the antibodies were detected in 210 people, of which 16 cases suggested the presence of the novel coronavirus in the state of Espírito Santo before Brazil announced the first officially confirmed case on February 26 last year. One of the case samples was collected back on December the 18th of 2019. The Russian Health Ministry is expected to review an application for the registration of the country's third COVID-19 vaccine. The Chumakov Federal Scientific Center is applying for the registration. An official at the center says the vaccine has not been proven to have any sort of safety concerns during clinical trials. The center says it expects the health ministry to issue its verdict on the application next month. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga says the entry of all non-resident foreign nationals into the country will be suspended as part of the efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19. The measure will be taken until February the 7th, when a state of emergency declared in the greater Tokyo area and other parts of Japan will be lifted. Prior to this move, the majority of entries were suspended as of December, but travelers arriving on business and associated with some student programs from certain countries had been exempt from the tightened restrictions.
Canada.
President Donald Trump's being impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives over the violent siege of the Capitol. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, read the results.
On this vote, the ayes are 232, the nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Trump is the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice. 10 Republicans supported the Democrats in voting to remove the president from office. The vote took place under exceptionally tight security in the Capitol, beefed up by armed National Guard troops with secure perimeters and metal detectors. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Jacob J. Lew is being named chair of the board of directors of the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. The nonprofit organization has been at the forefront of promoting exchanges between the two sides since the 1970s. Lew served as the Treasury Secretary from 2013 to 17, and he'll be the 10th chair of the New York-based committee. The Prime Minister of Ireland's issued a formal apology on behalf of the state for decades of abuse at church-run homes for unmarried mothers. Prime Minister Michael Martin spoke in Parliament after a long-awaited report recounted decades of harm done at the homes, where thousands of infants died.
I apologize for the profound generational wrong visited upon Irish mothers and their children who ended up in a mother and baby home or a county home. As the Commission says plainly, they should not have been there. I apologize for the shame and stigma which they were subjected to, and which for some remains important to this day.
Martin promised that the government will act on all the recommendations of the report. Church-run homes in Ireland house orphans, unmarried pregnant women, and their babies for most of the 20th century. The final report of an inquiry into the mother and baby homes said that 9,000 children died in different homes during this period. Major causes of death included respiratory infections, gastroenteritis, and stomach flu. This is Shane Bigham live from the Chinese capital. Coming up in business, China's bond market was busy in 2020.
You're listening to the Beijing Hour. 60 minutes of comprehensive news. Your window on China and the world.
36 past the hour. Turning to business now. U.S. stocks closed slightly higher on Wednesday, with defensive sectors leading the gainers. Investors are waiting for details of the next U.S. fiscal stimulus plan. And Congress began President Donald Trump's impeachment hearings. Market observer Ross Gerber.
It's pretty amazing. You know, we've seen much lower volatility in such a high volatility time. But I think the market's really looking forward, and this is the low. I mean, could it really get worse in America? We're in the middle of a coup and 4,500 people dying a day. So I think what the market's saying is in 6 months, with the Biden administration taking over and effective vaccine distribution and stimulus, that we'll be in a much better place. And I have to agree with that.
The Dow Jones was flat. The S&P 500 gained 0.2%. The Nasdaq added 0.4%. European markets finished mixed as of the most recent closing prices. CAC 40 in France gained 0.2%. The DAX in Germany rose 0.1%. The FTSE 100 in London lost 0.1%. Chinese stocks closed lower, with the Shanghai Composite down by 0.3%. Market analyst Wang Lihuan.
Melon markets retreated in the afternoon after hitting multi-year highs again this morning. The Shanghai Composite fell 0.3% to close just below 3,600 points, while the Chinex tumbled 1.6%. Turnover remained high, above 1 trillion yuan for the 8th day in a row, and foreign investors continue to pile in, net buying A shares via the stock links with Hong Kong. Sector-wise, insurers, non-ferrous metals, and tourism stocks sank the most, while on the other hand, state-owned railway, heavy machinery, and nuclear giants rallied as investors hunted for bargains. Earnings forecasts kept on moving individual companies. Shares in Sanchuan Food and Ecovax Robotics advanced sharply today after the company said that they expect their 2020 earnings to rise by at least 50%. And we're seeing more Chinese tech firms planning to raise capital in Shanghai. PC maker Lenovo Group said that its board approved a proposal to list China depository receipts on the Shanghai Stock Exchange to raise as much as $1.5 billion, taking advantage of a CDR program Beijing kicked off 3 years ago. And Alibaba-backed AI giant MegV Technologies said that it's preparing for a listing on Shanghai Starboard. If successful, MegV would be among the first Chinese AI startups to go public.
That was market analyst Wang Liquan. Hong Kong stocks finished lower. The Hang Seng Index was off by 0.2%. Elsewhere, Singapore stocks closed higher. The Straits Times Index went up by 0.1%. In Japan, Tokyo stocks ended higher Wednesday, with the Nikkei gaining 1% and reaching its highest closing level in more than 30 years. China's bond market was an attractive destination for foreign capital in 2020, as it saw record inflows during the year. Gao Songya has more.
China issued more than 7 trillion yuan worth of treasury notes in 2020 to support economic recovery. Experts largely agree that the stimulus this year worked out better than expected, setting the stage for normalization of fiscal and monetary policies. FTSE Russell recently announced that it would add Chinese government bonds to its flagship index. The inclusion will be China's third entry into the major global bond index. JP Morgan's global index team previously projected that the inclusion of Chinese bonds in the 3 major indices would add capital inflows of up to $250 billion to $300 billion for China. During the first 11 months of 2020, the whole trading volume reached about 4.4 trillion yuan, with the monthly foreign holdings setting new records almost every month during the year. For attracting more yield-starved foreign investors, 2020 marked the new record-breaking year for China, with the newly added foreign capital inflow amounting to nearly 900 billion yuan during the first 11 months of the year. Looking into 2021, some investors show worries for possible defaults in corporate bonds. Financial regulators, including the PBOC and CSRC, have come up with tighter and more tailor-made solutions and have launched specific standards in order to boost the market in a healthy term. Bloomberg data showed that about 96% of China's onshore credit ratings are the equivalent of investment grade. China's central bank recently determined to deal with the inflated credit rating. It issued a statement to require rating agencies to improve their quality of work.
That was Gao Songya reporting on the surge in investment into China's bond market in 2020. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank says that green infrastructure that promotes social interactions will shape the region's economic recovery post-COVID-19. The Multilateral Development Bank, whose headquarters is in Beijing, says it's ramping up investment in digital infrastructure. Hundreds of companies listed on China's A-share market have released their performance reports for 2020. Of the 740 businesses listed on the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges, nearly half reported positive growth. 144 estimate that they saw a minimum of 100% increase in net profits. 40 say they expected more than 200% growth in net profit. There was growth in the sectors of medicine, new energy, vehicle manufacturing, and farming. Analysts say the figures reflect the confidence that investors have in the Chinese economy despite the impacts of the pandemic last year. They say that investors are banking on gradual market growth thanks to China's success in containing the outbreak, the country's rapid economic recovery, and reforms in the capital market. Official data shows that in the first 3 quarters of the past year, the total revenue of all listed companies reached 3.7 trillion yuan, or 0.6 trillion US dollars. And that's up by 0.7% year on year. And with this, we're joined by market analyst South San. Good morning.
Morning.
So sectors such as medicine and NEV manufacturing boasted outstanding performances. What's your take on the momentum of the companies in these sectors?
I think the momentum will continue, especially in light of what happened in the past year with regard to the pandemic. I think people will pay close attention to the health situation, and a lot of these pharmaceutical companies will do very well in this environment, which should contribute to their share price increase.
The combined turnover of stocks in the Asia market exceeded $1 trillion for the 8th consecutive day of trading up until the closing bell yesterday. So what would you say is behind this enthusiasm shown by investors about the Chinese market recently?
Well, I think it's mainly driven by fundamentals. I think a lot of Chinese companies are posting very good corporate profits. So investors are justified in their optimism. And the valuation is still reasonable. I think that's propelling more investors into the market.
Well, what potential risks do you see for investors at this point, despite the bullishness of the market at this stage?
Running out of money.
Well, the risk is too much margin debt. I think investors are now borrowing more on margin to buy securities. I think as this bull market continues, regulators need to pay close attention to the margin debt outstanding to make sure that the speculative fraud does not go out of control.
Thank you very much for joining us. That's market analyst South San talking about the bullish outlook for China's A-share market. We're at 44 past the hour. A report by U.S. software company Salesforce shows that online shopping during the end-of-year holidays went up by 50% last year as compared to 2019. Its 2020 holiday shopping report shows that consumers spent $1.1 trillion US online worldwide, and $236 billion of that in the United States. The report also found that consumers were more likely looking to pay for big-ticket holiday gifts in installments last year. Sporting goods and home goods were the hottest product categories. The island province of Hainan saw a sharp increase in newly registered businesses last year. In particular, there was a rush of business registrations after the authorities released a master plan for the Hainan Free Trade Port in June of last year. Official data shows that Hainan registered 150,000 new companies last year. That's up more than 100% year on year. The authorities in Hainan have taken aggressive steps to optimize the business environment on the island. The master plan aims to turn the province into a world-class free trade port, encouraging more investors from home and abroad to set up there. Official data shows that sales of new energy vehicles went up 11% year on year in China last year. This follows government incentives for business and other efforts to protect the environment. Figures from the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers show that NEV sales totaled nearly 1.4 million units last year. China unveiled a development plan for its NEV industry with the aim of accelerating the country's transition into an automotive powerhouse. The plan covers the period between now and 2035. The proportion of new NEVs in the sales of new vehicles is expected to rise to 20% by 2025. The country aims to completely electrify vehicles used in public transportation by 2035. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, a blockbuster trade has been made in the NBA.
Beijing Hour. Hello, I'm Peter Dinklage from X-Men Days of Future Past. You are listening to the Beijing Hour.
Hi, I'm Kathy Freeman. You're listening to the Beijing Hour.
Hi everyone, I'm Long Long. Welcome to the Beijing Hour.
The Beijing Hour, your window to China and the world.
It's time to rethink what rest means. In fact, it's time to take sleep not just a little, but a lot more seriously. And Casper is here to help. With Casper's amazing sleep products, more people than ever have been getting the sleep they deserve. It's time, because now they're having a sale. From the most comfortable mattresses to the softest sheets, save 10% on everything you'll need to reset your rest at Casper.ca. Exclusions may apply. See Casper.ca/promo for more details and end date. This is 680 News. Talk about federal election is increasing after the Prime Minister refused to commit to holding off on a vote amid the pandemic.
While vote speculation is increasing, it's not believed an election call is imminent. Several political scientists like Lori Williams with Mount Royal University tell me while the Liberals are enjoying strong polling numbers, they don't expect the Prime Minister to march to Rideau Hall until much of the population has been vaccinated.
The more successful the dealing with COVID-19 is, the more likely we're to see an earlier election.
Many have an eye on June for a possible vote, and they note the feds would also want to wait until after the spring budget, which will have major spending and promises like national child care. Stephanie Plant with Carleton University tells me the Liberals will have an advantage if there is a pandemic vote.
Every election has been very good for incumbents.
Experts don't believe the opposition would trigger an election unless there's a major shift in the polls. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
In 60 seconds, traffic and weather together on the ones. This is 680 News.
It's a new year, and Maple Auto Mall wants to get you back on the road. Our largest incentives are on now on all your favorite brands. Honda, Toyota, Mazda, Hyundai, Nissan, Volkswagen, and Acura. Get 0% financing, cashback incentives, and no payment for 90 days on select models. Book an appointment to see us. We're open by appointment with safety measures in place. Visit mapleautomall.ca.
Part of the Zankin Auto Group.
Every day, Canadians are buying homes and getting the wrong mortgage rates. Important announcement. If you have a home mortgage closing in the next 90 days, 1.38% 5-year fixed mortgage rates are available at butlermortgage.ca. No matter what you were told or what you signed, you can still switch to 1.38% 5-year fixed. No gimmicks, no fees. Standard mortgages at 1.38% 5-year fixed. To learn if you qualify, go to butlermortgage.ca now.
License number 12118, high ratio fixed rate APR of 1.39%.
680 News Time, 6:51, traffic and weather together on the ones, brought to you by City of Toronto and Shopper 680. Here's Jordan Kerr.
Oh, issue this after we had a couple of issues clear. We have two new ones on the eastbound 401. So East 401, east of Weston in the Express, a stalled vehicle on the left shoulder causing a delay from Islington in the Express. Then delays approaching Avenue to east of Bayview Express, really slow east of Yonge and Leslie in the collectors because of earlier problems. And a new issue heading into Durham, eastbound 401, east of Westney, 2 left lanes blocked off with a new crash. It's jammed up from Brock Road, so the delays continue out through here. On the westbound side, westbound 401 west of Leslie Express, problems have cleared. It's slow approaching Leslie, the west of it in the express lanes. That should clear up now the issue's gone. And watch out west of Dufferin in the express. The right shoulder is blocked off with a stalled transport truck, luckily not causing a delay. Still busy through Mississauga, Huron-Ontario Express, Mavis collectors to approaching Mississauga Road. From the 680 Traffic Center, here's Carling Donahue.
We have an update on the problem on the southbound 404. Approaching Shepherd, there's now 3 right lanes blocked off with a collision. Tons of emergency vehicles and tows on scene, so lots of flashing lights. It's a big visual distraction, but you still got 2 left lanes to get through. So traffic isn't bunching up too hard. It's just a delay from Finch down to south of there right now. So nothing too serious, but something to be aware of. If you are traveling on any of the other major routes, the only delay we've got is on the northbound 427. And that's on the ramp to Highway 7. The Gardner QEW combo moving good both directions. Same with the 400, the North GVP, everything's up to speed. The pipes in your home can freeze in cold weather, leaving you with no water or causing your pipes to burst. To prevent expensive property damage from frozen pipes, visit toronto.ca/frozen pipes today. With your forecast, here's Natasha Ramsahai.
Well, no frozen pipes. So over the next couple of days, we're looking at really mild temperatures, up to 4 degrees tomorrow. Now, we are starting off at 1, and that's close enough to the freezing mark that we'll likely see a slight risk of freezing drizzle over the north of GTA, up over the escarpment and the Oak Ridges Moraine. Otherwise, it's overcast tomorrow, on and off drizzle with that high of 4. Also 4 degrees on Friday with a few morning flurries, and then the afternoon, late afternoon into the evening, watching for rain incoming, mixing with snow at times across the north area of the GTA, and then Saturday, rain snow mix. We'll switch over to wet snow, a couple of centimeters on Saturday night with a high of 2 degrees during the day. Tonight down to a low of 1 degree. It is currently 2 degrees at Pearson.
What does it feel like to play Lotto 649? Well, with an upcoming jackpot of an estimated $5 million, just having a ticket feels a lot like that moment between and... So get that 649 feeling. Buy your ticket today to feel the anticipation that comes with a chance to win a jackpot of an estimated $5 million, plus the guaranteed $1 million prize.
Guaranteed one estimated for all.
During extreme weather season, count on our weather experts at the 680 News Extreme Weather Center for all the latest on this storm.
And how to keep you and your family safe.
Road conditions, school cancellations, and the latest storm updates.
The 680 News Extreme Weather Center has you covered.
Brought to you by Subaru. Confidence in motion.
On your radio, online, and on your smart speaker.
This is 680 News.
The Canadian Taxpayers Federation is calling on the Ford government to fire the board of directors for St. Joseph's healthcare system, citing that vacation he took last month in the Dominican.
A vacation which was board approved, though it's not clear right now if the board knew where he was going.
We're calling on the premier to fire this entire board because clearly they're incompetent for approving his vacation.
Jasmine Moulton is the Ontario director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. She says her jaw dropped when she saw Dr. Tom Stewart, after stepping down from Ontario's pandemic advisory board, would also be parting ways on a without cause basis with St. Joseph's healthcare system, with all parts of his contract upheld. That would mean severance pay of over $1 million. Looking at his contract, Moulton says this shows the need for sweeping changes for provincial employees.
We're calling on first, the premier needs to make sure that bureaucrats and people who weren't elected by voters in Ontario, make sure that they're being held accountable for the employment contracts that they sign.
We've reached out to St. Joseph's healthcare system for comment. They sent us the press release from Monday. I'm Ben Epple.
Business is next.
Hi, Anthony Longo here. We're making it easier to save you money and check everything off your shopping list with our new line of Longo's Essentials. Common household products that combine the quality Longo's is known for with prices that will save you the hassle of shopping around. Things like butter and spices, garbage bags, and aluminum foil. You know, the everyday stuff. Just look for the packaging with the big check mark to check everything off your list. Check-a-yee, check, check, check. For quality that meets your family standards, trust ours. Longo's.
Superfan with a super deal. The iHeart Winter Sales event is on now. Don't wait for 90 days on all new cars, OAC, and no charge all-wheel drive on select models. Frontline workers receive 2% above invoice pricing on all new cars in stock. Your safety is our #1 priority. We have masks and gloves ready for you. You're looking for a Hyundai? I'm your guy. Visit lovebhatyashyundai.com. Now 3 locations to serve you.
Now the 680 News Business Report, here's Richard Sufford.
Good evening. We are, of course, staying home a lot more. Wouldn't it be nice to have an extra pair of hands around the house to help you out with chores and whatnot? Well, technology to the rescue. Samsung shocked everybody today. It made a presentation at the ongoing Consumer Electronics Show, which is happening all online this year. And Samsung showed off a robot that it's going to start selling to help you around the house. It is called the Bot Handy. It's about waist high. It's got wheels on it. And there's a single robotic arm that it has. So you can program this robot to literally set the table. Samsung released quite the video of this robot literally putting out the knives and forks and setting the table. It can put away your groceries. It can load your dishwasher and even pour you a glass of wine. Samsung tight on the details and availability. Didn't say that quite yet, but obviously could be a hit. With, again, everybody spending a lot of time at home. Speaking of time at home, we're watching a lot of TV these days. Can't go to the movies. Movie theaters are closed. And here's Netflix really filling the void now. Netflix said today that they're going to release a new movie every week this year. And it's not just going to be any old movie. We're talking about some high-budget flicks that they have coming out. Highlights include a mega-budget heist film called Red Notice starring Gal Gadot. Lin-Manuel Miranda also has a big film coming out on Netflix called Tick, Tick, Boom. Netflix stocks has been hot. The shares were up another 2 3/4% today, $507. TSX not so hot. It was down 51 points, 17,934. With the convenience store chain Alimentation Couche-Tard falling 10%. The owner of Circle K announcing plans to potentially make a big acquisition in Europe. On Wall Street, the Dow fell 8 points. The S&P
what the hell are they going to buy in Europe?
The Nasdaq was up 56. Intel stock up 7% today. Canadian dollar 78.69 cents US. This is 680.
Your employment rights with Lior Samfiru from employmentlawyer.ca.
COVID-19 has forced drastic employment changes on many Canadians in the form of layoffs, pay cuts, reduction in hours, demotions, and work relocation. What most employees don't realize is that your employer does not have a right to make significant changes to terms of employment without your consent. You don't have to accept these changes. Your employer
He said
is
I was
essentially
fired. I
terminating
said
you,
no
and you are
fucking
owed
way.
full
Eh?
severance pay. I can help you get the severance package you are legally owed. My team has helped tens of thousands of employees get the compensation they deserve when changes are made to their job. Before you accept any changes, contact me and discover why my employment law firm is the most positively reviewed firm in Canada.
Contact employment lawyer Lior Sambiru today. Get the advice you need and the compensation you deserve. Visit employmentlawyer.ca. That's employmentlawyer.ca.
Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for Coy Brothers. Coy Brothers is the largest Kubota dealer in Canada.
We have Kubotas in stock and ready to work.
Get your Kubota at Coy Brothers.
KOOYBROS.com.
And don't forget to bring your wallet.
Downtown Toronto, overcast, a wind chill reading of -1. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. It's 7 o'clock.
Number one for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News, Toronto.
Here are James Monroe.
Wednesday, January 13th.
Here's what's making news right now.
Despite no fans in the stands, the Toronto Maple Leafs will hit center ice and face off against the Habs in the first game of the 2021 season.
Congress votes to impeach Donald Trump, making him the first U.S. president ever to have that happen twice. But his impeachment won't go to the Senate until after Joe Biden is sworn in.
This is a life-saving message.
One day after the province announced new measures to curb the spread of COVID-19, city officials are once again urging Torontonians to stay home as much as possible.
The Maple Leafs drop the puck on the regular season as they host the Montreal Canadiens as James Harden lands in Brooklyn in a blockbuster three-team trade. Sports at 15.
TSX falls 50 points in the midweek trade as investors hit the sell button on a convenience store chain. Plus, a new report finds Canadians are hurting their careers because they're afraid of bragging.